everybody, we're back. Welcome to another episode of More Than a Title. I'm your host, Jared Thomas, CRO at OTB Digital, and I'm joined by my co-host, Chatty O, aka Pastel Chatty, aka your favorite CEO's favorite CEO. What's going on, bro?
We in the building. I'm happy to be here.
That's it, man.
That's it.
So before we begin, let's give a quick shout out to our partners at the Alive Podcast Network. Make sure you download the app to enjoy great content like More Than a Title and all the other podcasts they have listed on the show. It's a great app. Make sure you support. Also, huge shout out to returning listeners and subscribers. Thank you for the continued support. Like, we're growing every single week because of you, and we truly appreciate you. For all the first-time listeners, what's that?
Listen, don't forget the word exclusive. You always forget the word exclusive. Exclusively brought to you by Alive. Exclusively. You can't forget exclusive. You can't forget exclusive.
It's a big word.
Don't cheapen the contract.
Well, you hear that, the business. That's why he's the CEO. But you know this for all the first-time listeners, guys. I'll give you a quick intro. This is More Than a Title. It's a show about having authentic conversations with some of the best and brightest in business to really understand who they are as a person and how they got there, how to get to where they are, and what are the lessons learned. And today, I'm excited, man. This is my second time interviewing this brother. I've gotten to know him over the years. Early in my LinkedIn days, he's somebody I followed, somebody who inspires me. He creates great content. He's a straight shooter, and he knows his stuff. He knows sales and marketing better than anybody I know, man. So he's the CEO and founder of Scaled, which is a consultancy focused on helping global 2,000 brands and startups optimizing their sales process, people, technology with customized strategies. But prior to Scaled, he's headed sales and customer success for Chartbeat. Within the first 9 months of his tenure, grew annual bookings by more than 300% year over year and nearly doubled monthly recurring revenue. And then before that, he was the VP of sales at Glassdoor, where he expanded the department from 1 to 40 employees and grew employee direct revenue from 0 to over 1 million in monthly recurring revenue.
Crazy.
Since then, since 2013. There you go, baby.
We gotta line it up.
I like it.
We gotta line them up.
And since then, he's launched Scaled, and he's been sought after thought leader. He's quoted by Forbes, Huffington Post, also LinkedIn top voice. He's a good friend of mine, man. Somebody I look up to his content. Let's introduce our good friend Jake Dunlap.
Jake, what's going on, Jake?
I need a name like Pastel. Something like
Pastel, baby.
All the other stuff's great, but I like that.
Yeah,
I need
Pastel Chatty, baby. Listen, I just want you listeners to before we get on really quickly, understand that Jared said this is the second time that we're interviewing Jake, right? So that should tell you how much information this guy has and how many jewels he's about to drop that we couldn't even fit it all into the first interview, that we had to bring him back. We had to bring him back. So thank you, Jake, for taking the time to be on the show yet again.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Always a good time.
Let's go.
Always, man. So I remember the first time, to give people the backstory. So when I first started on LinkedIn, right, there was few people that really got me going. And I was like, man, I got to take this shit seriously. It was you, it was Chris Walker, it was Dave Gerhardt, it was Madison Butler, it was Quentin Allums. And I just remember you every single day, man. I'm sitting there in my desk in the cubicle like, you fucking get sales, damn it. I'm preaching this shit to the CEOs and they're not listening to me, but Jake gets it.
Right. When you know, you know. When you know, you know.
Keep saying it.
Yeah, when you know, you know.
So I usually we start with the background, like your background, Jake, how you got into the industry. So since we're kind of carving for time, I would love to know, what was that moment for you when you started Scaled? Because you had a ton of success in corporate, and you could have stayed there, you could have scaled, you could have hopped around and made a ton of money. But what was that moment for you that's like, man, I have to create my own?
This will be a fun one for people. So I realized after I got fired for the second time, and it wasn't for performance, it was because what I sucked at was politics. I was not good. I was very good at building repeatable sales processes, understanding shifts in customer behavior, developing leaders, developing salespeople. So all the parts about building a world-class sales organization, I was really, really, really good at. And I realized that I was very fortunate. I worked at a company called Career Builder back when it was in its heyday, and they taught a very smart system that I was able to adapt over a few organizations. And I just said, look, maybe, I'm not a house cat. I think maybe I'm an outside cat. Like, I'm better service to people, not like, I love everything sales. I love talking about the science and the repeatability of sales, but why do this for one company when I can build a company that can do this for a lot of companies and apply a lot of the things that made me very successful? Because I think I was always very much a process person. And so I can more easily articulate why I was successful and then how and relate that to how other people can be successful tactically. And I knew that that was something that was unique, and realized, I don't know if this is my path. I never thought about, like, I never thought to myself, I want to be an entrepreneur. That's the interesting part. I never had that itch. Like, I want to work for myself. Not one time do I remember until I did it. And I kind of had the epiphany of, like, you need to be working for yourself. Like, you need to try it. And there's a lot of iteration in there that I can get into too.
Let me just jump in real quick, because I was going to ask you that, because this is very important, right? Most people in their life get very comfortable with being a worker. It doesn't matter how many times they get fired, right? They're comfortable being a worker because a worker is so easy. You go to work, you do what you're told to do, you go home. You understand what I'm saying? You don't have to worry about how to run the company, insurance, etc. So when you decided to now take the leap to be an owner, were you a little nervous? Because, I'm not saying you didn't have the education, but if you were coming from a working field, then 9 out of 10, you didn't really have the experience of running everything on your own. Was you a little nervous doing that?
To your point, I had a unique skill set, right?
Okay.
So I knew if worst case, something doesn't happen, like it absolutely. The funny part is not really. I mean, there were some times in the early years where I got offered some really amazing roles and I almost did it and I didn't. And that happened a few times in the first few years.
Okay.
But, part of me, the pitch to my wife, was, hey, I can go get another VP of sales job tomorrow. Like, my track record speaks for it. Like, even though, like, Jake might be a little rough around the edges, but I never played that. I never thought about, I never once, and I see so many sales leaders. I made a good amount of money from an annual and bonus base, but I never built, and I tell people this all the time, even when I made $300,000, $400,000 a year, I never built a $300,000, $400,000 a year lifestyle, because I care more about personal growth.
Couldn't let you get away from that, Jake. Couldn't let you get away from that.
That's what happens, man. And I tell you, it's like, what I realized is, part of that journey to doing things on my own was that realization about me, myself, and who I am, but also saying, okay, Jake, what's next for you? Well, I can go get a VP of sales job at this company for 2 or 3 years. And then the next, and I'm like, where am I growing? Like, where am I becoming a better and better and better? Like, is this my life? Yeah. Is this what it is now? Yeah. My life is going to be to go from VP of sales job to VP of sales job. And don't get me wrong, like, there's nothing wrong with that. That could be a very, 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 very lucrative life. But for me, growth is so important. And what I see happen so often, again, as someone who runs a 35+ person consulting firm, I get these sales leaders, they come and they're like, yeah, I want to do consulting. And I'm like, well, look, as you establish yourself, you might have a month where you can get paid a lot, where like people come to you, but then the first few people that know that you left, it's 3 or 4 months later, and then you're like, oh my gosh, like, we had a leader, he's like, I only made $11,000 this month. I don't know how I can do it. I'm like, are you? You can't. You had 1 month at 11. What kind of life are you living?
He's ready to quit already. He's ready to quit.
What kind of life are you living? To where it's literally 1 month. You're grown. You got kids. You don't just pursue what you really want to do. You have built a life to where you have 1 month at 11, and now you're worried you got to go take another full-time job. And that's what. Again, maybe I was fortunate. It was before kids. I was probably a little more risk adverse, but I think so many people, they trap themselves in a life that's where money becomes everything, and then they stunt their own growth, and then the world passes them by. And I got to tell you, especially now, man, with ChatGPT and AI, I'm spending 10, 20 hours a week, like, going down all the rabbit holes of how this is going to impact our lives. And I feel like, candidly, I am going back to the mindset of I'm 22 again, and I don't know anything, because what I'm starting to realize is, man, most of my knowledge, as proprietary as I might think it is, ChatGPT can get it like 60 to 70% right. And so I think so many knowledge workers out there, people that are used to making 300, 100, 200, 300,000, whatever, are going to have to revamp the skill set and understand how to prompt and how these tools actually work. And so I've always had that growth mindset. And when I see something, I see it clearly. I know how to hard pivot, and I don't hold on to the past. And I think a lot of people out there need to think about, have I built a lifestyle that's trapped me? You know, I've created too many bills. I've done this, so I can't go do what I want. And am I okay from an ego standpoint? And because a lot of this is ego, an ego to be okay not making that for a little bit, to go pursue what I want to do, to maybe take a small step back. Life is long. Okay, fine. You're 35, 36, 41, 45, doesn't matter. So, now it's going to be you're 47 till you make it. And you're 45, or you're 35, and now you're going to take a step back, so you're 38 when you make it. Like, we just thinking too short of timelines. And I think, like, you know, it's a very long answer to your question, but, you know,
it's a good answer though.
I've always thought about all these variables, man, and that's what allowed me to grow really quickly in my career. Is I took every job that I took was for growth. I took jobs that would push me into learning more responsibility and what that role did, versus another 20 grand, 10 grand. And what I saw a lot of my peers do is, man, they probably got to making $150,000 a year faster than me. But guess what? 3 years later,
topped out.
They're still making 150, 170. And again, that's great money. Do not get me wrong. $150,000 is a lot of money. Right. Okay. But they stopped. They were so focused on the money that they stopped putting themselves in uncomfortable positions and focused on staying comfortable. I've always been an uncomfortable person. I'm okay with discomfort. It's probably why I'm good at sales too. I'm okay with discomfort and being in uncomfortable situations. And I think a lot of people need to, especially if you're starting that journey, you know, think about if you've got that in you, because I think that that's something that you have to be comfortable with, is that uncomfortableness that comes with growth, and making sure that you give yourself those opportunities and don't lock yourself into something that's comfortable and you're making money, but, you know, deep down, I know you're not happy.
Yeah, I mean, that's so real. There's so many gems that you said on that, man. Yeah. And you know why it hit me, man, because that's why I started my biz too, Jake. So I know when we first spoke, I was working at the agency, right? So we end up doing really good stuff at the agency. We end up closing $2 million worth of deals without a cold call or email, Jake. We killed shit. And I've never, if you'd have told me this, I'd be like, you're lying. You know what I mean? But I'm like, it worked. That branding stuff worked. So I got fired from Hootsuite, man. I was a top performer. I still love the people at Hootsuite. We had a great experience. But I start thinking, man, like, what is this about, man? Because I go here, I'm a good seller here. I make new relationships. Something happens, don't know why. I'm cut out the fold, and I can make money other places. And like you said, as far as the going for money, I've been in places where I've took the bag, and then the product was shitty. And then you're like, now I'm stuck here in this road. Now I'm bouncing around again. So I felt what you said, man, because I did it out of necessity. I had to.
Sometimes you have to. And I'm not talking about those cases. Sometimes you're in a situation you have to. What I'm talking about, do you need, do you have to have this apartment or this condo or this whatever? And is the answer like, I have to, or my ego says I have to?
But let me jump in on that a little bit, because when you said that, I felt that, but I look at it like this, right? Like, everybody has a different system of what they like and what motivates them. You understand what I'm saying? You have some people that are just minimalist people. They live a very minimalist lifestyle. Doesn't matter how much money they have. They just like to live a very minimalist lifestyle, right? What I believe is just simple. You're going to work this hard, right? So, sometimes, like, I used to go to work and sleep on the job. Like, we were working 18, 19 hours a day, 20 hours. Understand what I'm saying? We were sleeping in our cars. When you're working that hard for some type of a better life, I believe that you have to have something to keep you motivated, right? To keep you saying, well, I've worked this hard. I might not have gotten the car that I wanted, but at least I got this. You understand what I'm saying? I didn't get the house that I wanted, but at least I got this nice apartment. Something to kind of be like a short-term goal of achievement to keep you motivated, to keep you going forward. You know what I mean? I look at it that way,
No, for sure.
Everyone has their own motivations, right?
Yeah.
And if you want, you want to learn a certain skill set, and then because you want to travel the world and you want to do AB, great. That's amazing. That's not the interesting part for me. Is the reward for me was I was better than people. I knew it. Like I was up in my skill, and not better than them as humans, but better than as sales.
Listen. Let him toot his horn real quick. Let him toot his horn. Let him do it.
I'm not better than anybody as a human, but
no, it's okay.
For me, it was, I knew I was investing in my skill set.
Right.
And you see that investment pay off. And and I know the paycheck here. What I've always known is, look, if you put the work in
The money will
the
come.
paycheck's going to come. It's
The money will
Absolutely.
come. The money will come. The money
And
will
so
come.
I think that was the mindset of like, I saw myself getting better. I
Right.
saw myself, improving. I
Right.
saw myself passing people quickly that had, were 10 years experience more than me. I'll tell you the story of Glassdoor if you haven't heard me talk about it before. So I'm 30 maybe. And look, I'd been at Career Builder for 4 years, really successful, career there. And I think I was employee number 24 or something. They ended up exiting for 1.2 billion later. I wasn't there for that part of it. But I, because I had done the things, okay, I went to Missouri State University, okay? At the time it was called Southwest Missouri State. I got a 2.9 GPA, okay? But between then and my interview with Glassdoor, Career Builder offered to pay for an MBA. So I went and got my MBA at Arizona State in 18 months. It was not fun working full-time, MBA full-time. I managed a team. My team was one of the top performing teams. I left being an inside sales leader because I knew I'm like, how am I going to go lead grown-ass men and women if I haven't closed Intel? How am I, whatever age, how am I going to go tell this 50-year-old person, like, this is how you should do it if I haven't done it? So I went in the field. I became the youngest national account executive at 75. So because I took all of these learning opportunities, when Glassdoor came, we want someone who's a successful, like, frontline manager and director. Check. We want someone who knows enterprise sales. Check. We want someone who understands other parts of business. Check. When I got the offer letter, they redacted the offer from somebody else. I knew the guy. He was probably 20 years older than me.
Right.
And I got the job because I didn't know what I was preparing for.
Right.
I didn't know. And that's how life works. Opportunity doesn't come in these big lumps a lot of times. Right. There's a saying I heard from this, I don't remember who. It's like opportunity comes in pieces. And so when I got opportunities to learn and to grow and to take a chance to push myself, I took them, and then opportunity came. And I think that is, and again, your opportunity might not be you.
Right.
Maybe you want to do these other things. But for me, that's what enabled me to move faster than other people, from whether it was working in corporate or working for myself and, growing the company, to $1 million in the first, 16, 18 months.
Nice. I mean, that's an age-old saying that hard work beats talent every day. I tell people that all the time. Hard work beats talent every day, twice on Sundays. So what you did, that's a testament to you saying, I put that work in, right? I knew eventually I would get the opportunity to showcase what I could do, but let me be ready for it. And when the time came, you kicked the door open. Congratulations to you.
I think the real gem, though, is most leaders won't go on the front lines. And that's what made you different, Jake.
Okay.
That's the key right there, right? Because
Right.
you nailed it, right? So a lot of times I'm in the sales roles or corporations and things like that, right? So I have these sales quotas. I'm the type of person that's going to question the quota. Where did you come up with the math? It's supposed to be 8 times my salary, all these other things, and really nail it down. But it's hard to hear how to close Nike if you've never done it. If you're not on the phone with me, you're not helping negotiating the deal, you're not bringing it forward, and you're just coming on the call on Mondays like, well, Jared, where's my deal? What is the value that you're providing to me as a salesperson? And now that you've done that, now it's easy peasy. Now you know the process from front end and back end, and now you're providing real leadership, and everybody's winning.
Yep. It was a prerequisite for me. It was for me. I'm one of those people where my power is derived from the knowledge, and so for me to feel authentic, I had to do it. I'm like, I couldn't imagine becoming a leader of men and women where I don't have to be the best, but I understand, and I'm very proficient at whatever that thing is. And if I'm going to sit there and ask, obviously as my company's scaled there, I'm hired people with those skill sets that might, things that I can't do very well. But with a lot of those, it's like, I need to be able to support you. So I need to know what that role does. And so I maybe need to go and retrain myself on ABC just so I can be a better support system for somebody.
So
and I
true.
still do that today. And again, today it's about AI, man.
And you can see if they sleeping on the job. Then I give you a task, the dude laughs, oh, it's so hard about it. And then you press 2 buttons. It's like, okay, I just did that in 30 seconds. Get out of here. Like, you know what I mean?
That's the hard part.
Yeah, now you can call bullshit. That's what it is. Now you can call bullshit because he's like, I know your job. I hired you, but I know your job. Yeah.
I like to have a little bit of understanding of what it is. And,
absolutely.
And best practices, because they're everywhere. And I'll tell you, that's a mistake that I made, though. I will say that I think as I was scaling the company, making the transition from being a domain expert, like I knew sales, that, dangerous, like parts of marketing, but not my main thing. I knew sales, I knew customer success, I knew operations. but I don't think I did a good enough job early on as a CEO of getting the right mentors that already had seen around corners. And so I think early on with my company, the struggle sometimes with starting a services business is you can do whatever you want. You could dream up a product, you sell it tomorrow. And as a good seller, I was really good at finding those nooks and crannies. But I created too much custom stuff. And I think it really, I'm actually right now, we're doing a leadership offsite. We've got some people here in Austin right now. And, you've got to really try to hone in on who you are, what you're great at. And sometimes that sales brain wants to say, oh, I can do that. And I made that mistake early on. I think I would have scaled the company much faster if maybe in the first 3 or 4 years, I could have just said, it's okay, Jake, you're not going to grow by X, but you're spinning it. You're getting it tighter. And that would be my other piece of advice for a lot of people who are growing is get mentors. And a lot of mistakes I see is people will just get other mentors who are just more experienced. I say, get a mentor who's 2 steps from where you want to be. Get a mentor who's not like, runs, for me, it's like not that runs necessarily a 70-person consulting, but runs 100-person consulting, because they can tell you how they made the transition to here and then the transition to here.
Right.
And so that's my advice, to any get mentor. That's another mistake I made early in my career is as I got these new opportunities, I was fine for a while, but I didn't get enough mentors to help me see around corners early enough. And that's another, I can't stress that enough.
But that can also be an ego thing too, because some people they're very proud and it's very hard for them to ask for help.
That's
you understand?
Right.
It's
As
very
salespeople,
hard
it's hard for us. Salespeople,
right? I will tell you, right? Because you don't want to look like you don't know what you're talking about. Especially if you open your own company and now you got to go ask for help. So that can definitely be an ego thing that can hold you back.
That's exactly it. And I don't know. And the funniest part is, man, I think it was subconscious. It's like I consider myself an open growth mindset person, but there's also this pressure when you get to be a VP of sales that it's like, well, that's what we hired you for. That's what we hired you for. You should know that's one of the odd parts about this world we've created around developing people is all of our time goes into develop the first few jobs someone has, like training you on this. And then as you move to leadership, I was very fortunate. My company had an amazing leadership development program when I first went through it. But once you get to a certain level, it's like there's no development. It used to people used to have executive leadership and training, and now companies don't even think about that. They're like, I'm going to hire you. You should have it all figured out. And I think it was part of that pressure too, is I felt that whether it was real or not, like, man, I've got to have all the answers. They're paying me this money. I'm doing this thing, and I was not.
But you nailed on a huge problem in the industry, though, right? It's for anybody listening, right? Especially if people are not in the industry. Think of it like artist development at a label, right? What they're looking for, they're looking for somebody who's Jay-Z right out the gate, right? They're not developing and honing that person's skills. But the problem is they get to these C levels, and that's why you see them hop around from job to job to job and opportunity, and that's just kind of how it is. So that's. For me, I look at that, and that's why I don't like playing the game, because it's like, man, I'm not going to get that opportunity, right? Because I'm rough around the edges. I'm not like that, right? But then I'll see somebody fail and bring a company down to the ground, burn the ship, and then you get another opportunity at another ship.
Yeah, that's right. And a lot of it is timing. Man, look, the opportunity at Glassdoor, as much as I said I prepared, I was not smart enough to know what I actually did. Like I didn't take the job. I didn't know it. And a lot of these people, they get lucky. Again, it did exit for one point. It was very obvious to me, like this company was going to be successful. Like I could have had that foresight, but I didn't realize I'm sitting here at this boardroom. If y'all don't know who Bill Gurley is, Bill Gurley, if you've ever seen the WeWork show, that Bill Gurley's in that. Like I'm sitting next to this guy who's like VC of the year 2 years, Rich Barton, who founded Expedia, Zillow, a whole bunch of other. They're all in the boardroom, and I'm sitting there. I'm 31 years old. I had no clue.
Right.
But yes, part of that was luck. I wasn't like, oh, strategically, I'm going to go work for a company that's only funded by top tier VCs, and we have the top. It was total luck. And too many people, I think, like they want to test success to luck, or you had one good run, and now to your point, it's like now this person's minted. Like, oh, look what they did this and that, and they get a million opportunities. When it's like, dude, you were at that company when it was going like this. Yeah. Straight. I was at Salesforce from these years. Like, oh, you thought the CRM space and Salesforce is going to be number one. Like you had that foresight. Like I think we don't pay enough attention to that continued street cred of is this person continuing to grow, continuing to push the envelope versus, they've done this or that. It's like, okay, Well, what have they done in the last 10 years?
Let me ask you this question because this is big for me. I believe on-the-job training can be just as critical in development as you going to a state or city university and getting an education or an accredited degree, right? I myself, I have degrees from school, but a lot of my success came from me teaching myself. You understand? And I'll give you an example. Like, I did construction for a lot of periods of time, and we would get these superintendents that would be straight out of college. And they're telling me what to do, and I'm like, you've never been on a construction site before in your life, right? And they're like, no, yes, I have. No, you haven't, because I know what the blueprint says, but clearly you've never been here because you would know that doesn't work.
What's wrong with this guy? Am I kidding me or what?
That's how you look at him.
No, for real. Because not everybody has the opportunity to get a higher level education, right? To get a higher level education. So I think it's very important also to have programs where you can have apprenticeship programs and mentorship programs, right? Where you can see potential in somebody and give them a shot, obviously at entry level, but they're going to learn the business or the inner workings of your company right off the bat as what they need to do, not learn abroad in an educational system and then come to your job and you go, oh, we don't do none of that you just learned. I got to reteach you anyway.
Oh, I mean, that's sales in a nutshell. I mean,
right.
Think about
right.
what you learn. I mean, for me, I'll tell you what made me successful. I did telemarketing in college, right? I needed to pay my own bills. I had to pay my own bills. And so I worked 30, between waiting tables and I worked 30 hours a week and went to school full time for my undergrad. And it was those skills, the telemarketing skills, that when I got my first job, I already had a year of experience on these people after I graduated college. My first job, kid from Princeton sitting right here, destroyed that kid. Destroyed him.
Throw your sweat in the garbage, kid.
Kid from Clemson here.
Right.
Kid, I massacred because I understood. I was learning the techniques, teaching myself, and you're 100% right. Companies are not investing enough in people, and I think we're in this weird chicken and egg problem, which is, well, people are leaving sooner. So should we be investing as much? And then people are going, well, you're not investing, so I'm leaving. And again, I don't know what the solve is for some of this, but I do know, look, as someone who owns a company and runs a company, I know it's my job to invest. And if you leave, that's on you. If professional growth isn't important to you, one of our values is always growing. So we look for people that are always growing, because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm one of the worst leaders, and I know this, if you don't have a growth mindset. If you're like, I come in, I'm real good. There's certain roles where I'm like, yeah, whatever, fine, like you can be over here, but I don't work well with those people. And I've had because my mind cannot literally it's like 2 + 2 = 8. I'm like, what do you mean, like, that you don't want to step up and improve or to, but again, even if you're working toward work-life balance, if I want to be able to work 20 hours a week, whatever, but you have a growth mindset to put yourself in that situation. I just can't comprehend the people, just floating. I don't know, man. That's just
I can't get with that either. I can't. And you know what's funny to me? I didn't realize how much of a similar background we had, Jake. I started in telemarketing too, and was a waiter, and was doing the same shit. And what made me good in my first sales job, so I was doing reverse mortgages, right? So I'm calling 65-year-old people, trying to get them to take their equity out their house so they could go to Hawaii if they got no kids or some shit. And it was the craziest sale. I'm making $300 off the dollar. It was a boom, boom. Next thing you know, when I got into the actual boiler room for ad sales, I was doing digital sales. I was doing banner ads. People are making 50 calls and they're tired. They're ready to cut the day. Lunchtime, they're ready to go on breaks and shit. I'm on my 175th call by 11:59.
That's it.
That's how it's programmed.
It doesn't stop.
Their ass.
I had to sell vacation. My job was to get your credit card. You had to pay $35 for 3-day, 2-night vacations in these random places to then get pitched a timeshare. And so I had to try to convince you to give me your credit card. And I agree 100% with, look, there's no substitute. But again, you got to care about whatever that thing is, getting better at that craft. At least for me, I find a lot of fulfillment in continuing to grow as an individual. Some other people, they might be like, look, I'm good. I like where I'm at. This is comfortable. I'd rather spend time here. Cool. Like, whatever you want to do, that's you. This is, to the point of the show, this is my path. This is how I've got to the point that I'm at. And, I do feel fulfilled. I do feel like I've got the balance that I want, and it ebbs and flows. Like now I'm all into ChatGPT. I'm all into AI. So man, I'm staying up. I'm working a lot more than I had probably in the last 3 months, because I'm realizing, like, oh my gosh, this is going to disrupt. I run a people services business, I'm like, oh, if it can do this and this, and it's like I feel like every day I've just ate mushrooms, where like my mind is expanding in like what this can be and what this is actually going to do and replace. Is I don't think a lot of people can really fathom it.
I would love. We have to go. I know we're kind of short on time, but I would love if you give us kind of your synopsis on that, because you run the service businesses, right? Most people think of AI as optimizing the current processes, right? So some people think, how can we optimize the sales process, email, whatever this case may be, all those things. So how do you actually see it actually maybe replacing somebody or something like that? Where do you see it going from a sales perspective?
Oof, man. Oof.
I know
Yeah.
we about to go down, and I'm ready, man.
I mean, we got some time. I'll tell you this. I'll say, look, it's been. I'll go back in history a little bit. It was really interesting in sales, right? For the longest time, up until about 2015. I mean, this is not long. We're talking 8 years ago. It's not that long ago. Every time I reached out to someone, I was trying to book a meeting with that person, right? Okay, I got to get a meeting with Jarrett. Like that's my goal. And so I would write customized things because I didn't have tools that would allow me to like put people in a sequence of activities and do this. It was all kind of like somewhat one-off, and I'd have to. So sales was, by nature, like more customized, let's put it. Then we started to get these sales tools that were meant to allow us to like, oh, you don't have to remember to follow up with. There's another activity that you can then customize later and save you all that time. But what they turned into are these kind of like send all emails. And so not only was marketing hitting send all on emails, salespeople and sales development people started hitting send all on emails, and account executives are like, where's my qualified leads? And we got very lazy around the sales part of sales. And the problem that AI represents, I did a post about this yesterday on LinkedIn. I said, if your job is sending out templated emails that are augmented by AI and customization and personalization and targeting, you will not be employed in the next 3 years. If your job is running a discovery process and giving a one-size-fits-all demo, you will not have a job in the next 3 to 5 years. And so if your job does not involve having high EQ and or understanding how to utilize AI and the prompts to write and messing, and that's what I'm training myself. I'm training myself to be like, okay, this isn't search. Like, stop thinking like that. Write a longer prompt. Do this. And so I do feel like, look, if you are looking at your job and you say, I am kind of doing the same thing over and over again. My EQ it's okay. I've got a video I filmed where basically I'm going through ChatGPT, and I get ChatGPT to admit it can replace low performing salespeople. It can replace mediocre sales managers. It can because what does a mediocre sales manager do? They listen to a call and they provide very basic insights. AI can be trained to listen to those insights. They ask you about your forecast. Oh, where's the deal at? AI is much better than a lot of our guts, because we get happy years. We're like, oh, they're sold and all of these things. So I just think, like, if your role right now, you look at what you're doing day to day, is overly manual, repetitive, desk job, that's where it's coming. That's who it's coming for first. And then as it gets better and smarter, it's not that good at being proactive, but it's going to get there soon, where I can say, okay, actually, you told me you sell into this group, et cetera. So typically when you're putting together an account plan, the next step would be this. Do you want the next prompt? Okay, great. Insert the website here, and I'll go ahead and pull in all the publicly available information and try to fill out the account plan for you. Like, I just don't think we can. And that is, again, for me, this is after like the last 2.5 weeks, just being like, it can do this and this and this and this and this. And now it's like your eyes are open, like you can see the Matrix or something.
Oh my goodness. So for all salespeople, you need to be thinking about how you can utilize it to optimize your process, or it's going to raise up, going to be trouble. It's going to be trouble.
And the thing about AI that's really dangerous, in my opinion, is because it doesn't get tired.
Yeah.
Like, now, when we talk about, right, so now we talk about work ethic. Like, how do you beat a computer that never eats, never sleeps, never goes to the bathroom, never takes holidays? You understand? There's no death in the family. Once you take the human element out, this thing just runs. This thing just runs.
That's
unlimited.
EQ.
Yeah.
EQ. That's why, again, there are subtleties around empathy, but I'm telling you, the funny part is, and it can be kind of scary, I think, whenever you first have the realization, most of the things that we do in our day to day are really just are actually like a finite list of things that I could do. So it's like if I hear a person say this and this is the context, intuition, if you think about it, is really just a series of like previous experiences, like knowledge gain, current situations and thoughts. Like a lot of how our brain process, I'm not Elon Musk, so take all this with a grain of salt here, but you got to think it's actually, we actually do behave relatively predictably in certain situations. And so if you kind of look at that and realize, wow, I really don't have a lot of nuance to what I'm doing. That's what I would think. Is there a lot of nuance to what I'm doing? Is there a lot of nuance to this? Is there a lot of like, there's actually these do I sell a $5 million, logistics solution? Man, those are the jobs that are going to be fine for a while. And candidly, all blue collar jobs. You looked at, I saw this list, top 20 jobs being replaced, top 20 jobs saved. It's like, plumber, roofing, like those jobs are good. Those jobs are fine, but the interesting part is when more and more desk people get unemployed, maybe that's going to drive wages down. Who knows where this is going to go. But look, and here's the thing. It is what, and that's, again, I'm a big black and white person. If I see something and it's logical to me, I don't try to get caught up in like scaring and blah, blah. I'm like, okay, this is where we're headed. I need to learn about it. Let me learn about it. And that's how I think about myself and my own, like where we're at right now. Like I said a little bit ago, it's like I got to go back to act like everything I learned does not matter. And I think for a lot of people, ego wise, it's like, but they can't, it's
not me.
Sales is always human to human. I go, you are the same person who before COVID said people would never buy a $500,000, $1 million thing without meeting someone face to face and trusting them. Oh wait, they did? They bought 100% virtually $1 million product? So maybe what people want in a relationship with another human right now is evolving, and the way that we want to communicate is evolving. And so I just think, skills that you gain yesterday, you can't be locked into those because our world's changing so quickly. And so, having that growth mindset, I feel like is definitely a helpful skill right now.
Man, that was a drop the mic moment. You think not? That's a message.
Let's go.
But man, I swear I want to have a part 2 with you, Jay, because I want to go down that rabbit hole. Yeah. And I also want to talk to you about the creator economy stuff, the LinkedIn and what all that stuff. I know we can go down that rabbit hole, man. So let's please set up another date, man. I'm excited. But man, I just want to tell you face to face again. Thank you for all your support, man. Thank you for everything. Thank you for inspiring me, man. Because you got me on my shit on LinkedIn. You got me on my personal brand.
That's awesome, man.
And man, you keep
where
going,
you are, man. I love it. I will. Now let me get one of those shirts, man.
And just listen. We got them in different colors too. So if you go to the website, just pick out one that you like. We send it to you, no problem. Let us know your size.
Done.
But I want to say this to you before you go, Jake. Jared is my cousin, and I've seen his growth. I was there when he was in BBQs and as a waiter and things of that nature. So I just want to applaud you and say, keep doing what you're doing, because you don't realize that your message transforms people's lives, right? So, you can inspire somebody who will then inspire, right? And it becomes a domino effect, right? So your one thing that you did became an inspiration to many people. You can change a lot of families' lineage. So thank you for that.
I love that.
Yes, sir.
My man Jake,
I appreciate it.
part 2. Look, part 2 working on part 3. And the next time you come on, we're gonna have a nice little nickname for you too. I got you.
Okay, all right. All right. We can do that.
We got you.
See you again. Thank you for everybody in the comments.
Chat GPT. You can be like,
No, I'm authentic. No, we authentic over here. We authentic. Chat can't do what we do.
That's right, man. That's right.
Man. Thank you again for everybody that check in. Thank you for Facebook, the LinkedIn crew. We're gonna see you guys next week, man. And thanks for another episode of More Than the Title, baby.
What you know about me? Seen it all, heard it all. Oh, what you know about me? I've done it all, just want it all.